This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
100 I used to work in a youth club separately to that. He used to organise like an Irish language festival. Mm-hmm. It was like there'd be panel talks and like book launches and stuff during the day, and then at night there would be like
community dinners.
There'd be tunes and stuff.
That's pretty organised and adult.
Yeah, well he was doing that. Yeah. He had a mullet and all at the time.
I did have a mullet. It didn't help the organisation of things. I couldn't organise a haircut, but I could organise a festival.
Yeah, so that's how we met. We kind of met for that. Like it was like that sort of like subculture of young people growing up in urban settings that spoke Irish. Like it's like relatively new that like there's people in cities that speak Irish, because it obviously with colonialism and all that bad behaviour, it was driven to near extinction in Ireland, you know.
Too soon.
So too soon. It's only been 800 years. Who's counting? So it was like this kind of new, like kind of fringe subculture where it was like young people getting together. Everybody played tunes. Everybody was like traditional Irish musicians or whatever. And then we were partying loads and stuff. And it was kind of, that's where the ethos of KNEECAP came out of. We just decided to start representing it musically.
Mm-hmm. That's a meaningful thing to be part of as a teenager. Not every teenager has that sense of purpose or belonging or like a desire to do something about the way you feel.
And identity is a massive thing as well in the North, because we've kind of been disassociated from it for so long. You've been learning the English language for 800 years, which was kind of forced upon you. Like we said beforehand, back in the 1800s, 1900s, the schools used to wear this thing called the bat a skur, which is like the score bat. And you went into the school, and these were all people who just only spoke Irish, didn't know any English. And the teachers would be like putting a wee mark in the bat every time you spoke English, and then every time you spoke Irish, and at the end of the day you get beaten that many times. So they literally beat the language out of the kids in the schools, and then you would go home, and then you would have to show it to your parents, and then they would beat you, because they were told that unless you speak the English language, that's the only way you're going to get ahead. Irish is the language of the peasant, we're letting it go. And then you kind of get disassociated from your language, from your culture, from your sports, from your music and stuff. So that kind of shame passed through the generations, and people were so ashamed to speak the Irish language that they kind of just turned to the English language, really. And then
Sign language.
And now that's kind of flipped. People are getting proud to speak the language again, and they're expressing themselves through the language, and a lot of people are coming on board and seeing the benefits of it as well.
You need people to kind of trailblaze it, right? Do it first, and that builds community. And when there's like an open invite, that sounds like what it's like for kids across Ireland now.
Yeah, I think definitely I suppose for a long time people didn't really turn to the Irish language for art and music. We didn't really look introspectively in that way. We'd always look to see what would work in England or America when we're creating art. But I see these days there's a wave of young people like the Fontaines, Lankum, and all these different bands, CMAT, ourselves, who are now just making music for the sake of it, and it means people are creating, I think, more authentic art, and we're not creating songs to be put on iPods.
I feel like we have such a like deep, like Irish culture is all about arts. Basically, it always has been about storytelling, poetry, music, and I feel like it's always been disregarded, maybe because of our history of colonialism or whatever. That finally, there's always been top quality music coming from Ireland, but it just feels like finally it's getting the recognition it deserves, which is a good thing, obviously.
Nice.
And it's coming out as well, new genres. Obviously, like the Irish traditional music is well known all around the world. You have Riverdance, you have massive bands like Planksty and stuff, so it's known in all over the world. And now there's new generations coming through trying it in different spheres. So like you have even on our album, you'll see it. You know, it's like hip hop songs. There's dance music. There's
Repeat.
rave, and they're pushing it into corners it's never been in before.
The Irish language in particular, you know, has, especially people looking in from America or whatever, looking at Ireland, they sort of see Ireland and the Irish language as this like pure, sort of innocent fairy tale. You know, when in actual fact the language, like if you go out to Connemara and Donegal or whatever, rural areas in Ireland, like fishermen and stuff, it's filth. Doesn't matter what language it's in, like it's, you know what I mean. That's the reality of the language, and I feel like we're just, you know, personifying that, and it's not. We never created this. Like I think the Irish language has like 30 words for vagina, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean?
Merci beaucoup.
Evcharisto.
And you invented words for drugs.
Yeah, well, we would recycle old Irish words and they kind of use them for modern slang. So we had doogin, which is an old clay pipe people used to use for smoking tobacco back in the day in Ireland when we couldn't afford normal cigarettes. But we have recycled that, and that means a joint. We have sneesh, which is actually snuff. You ever tried snuff?
Snortable tobacco.
Snortable tobacco. It's rough. You ever wake up after a night? Oh,
it's good crack.
It's good crack, but then not the next day. It's like your nose is. It's like I'll be down the mains all night. But we recycle them words, sneesh and doogin. And what else do we have? Trícag, which is three consonant agus gota, which is three consonants and a vowel.
This is MDMA.
It's MDMA.
Isn't that so creative?
That's extremely imaginative.
Yeah, we have great imagination.
We can't take full credit for that one.
I'll take full credit for that one
and stuff. And then capeline. So anything in Ireland with "ing" at the end means small. So capel is horse. So it's a small horse is what we call ketamine, capeline.
That's what happens. You take it.
But like that was important to us because obviously we wanted like obviously to be doing like, you know, contemporary modern music through the language, but also at the same time we wanted it to be good quality. We wanted it to be grammatically correct. We wanted it to be respected in the Gaeltacht areas of Ireland as well, you know. So I feel like we succeeded in some way.
Yeah,
with great Irish actually, which is mad. Whenever you see the topics we're talking about and stuff, it's in really rich Irish.
And even better again, we've got great English, which is our second language. So
I don't know what you're saying.
How you say it's be our second language. So thank you very much for having us on the podcast.
Until he was kicked out of school, he used to teach Irish. Would you believe that?
Yeah, so I was working in a school, and this is hence the balaclava. I'm actually the real sex appeal of KNEECAP, but
would you believe that?
It's true. So I was working in a school, and then people I was teaching, and the older ones, 17, 18-year-olds, started coming to the gigs and realising it was me and shouting up my name on stage, and then coming to me like during school days and going, "Oh, it was class gig last night." I was like, "Shut the fuck up." And then obviously the powers to be, the authorities, found out that it was God found out who it was, and they did an investigation, found out that it was actually me. Up until then I had like plausible deniability because they couldn't see my face. That's why I was wearing a balaclava. And
then he got his bum out, and those very recognisable bum.
I got
the
so I got my arse out with the words Brits and out.
It's a real tattoo.
Buttock, as they wrote in the in the allegations. And then I was kind of forced to walk a plank, really. So I had to jump before I was pushed. And then, but it was, you know what? It was the best decision I've made.
Of course it was.
I taught in the school for 8-9 years, and then I saw the people come through from first year right through to like 7th year, and then go on and become Irish teachers. Like maybe 4 or 5 of the people who I was working with went on to become Irish teachers. I was like, you know what? That seems like job done to me.
Yeah, quality.
Because if they're able to pass it on, because that kind of thing where it starts here and like a family tree, if it starts here and then you have this many people and then it just exponentially grows out like that. I was thinking the same thing for the teaching. If you teach to 10 people who actually take it in and learn it, and they teach it on to like 5 of them would go on to teach it to another 10 people. I was like, you know what, job done. And then this is just another level of it as well, and this was the next kind of generation of the Irish language, really.
What's that been like being a musician like today?
I mean, we just take it day at a time because like it started off, we didn't know what we were doing. We put the song out, a bit of crack, we all stoned out, made this song on GarageBand and just put it out for the crack, and low key, low level sort of where we're from kind of went viral online and stuff. People loved it, so it only naturally happened that we decided to make a second tune. So like we didn't get into this for like anything other than the crack, basically. We'd done this for a laugh, but now we're at a point now where we fucking love it and we work very hard for it, and working hard for us isn't like, 4 or 5 days a week working 10 hours. It's like being away for weeks or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's what working hard is for us now, is like constantly being away and putting physical strain on yourself.
Mental strain comes hand in hand with it. Mm-hmm. But like that's physical strain. So it's just day by day we take it now. Like a couple of years ago I couldn't comprehend it would be on Jimmy Fallon, or like, we're playing fucking Norway here next week. Like shit like that, we've never ever expected stuff like that. So things that seemed inconceivable or like fucking so far-fetched a couple of years ago is almost like, just feels like the next step now and stuff. So it's been just fucking bizarre few years. Yeah, and I think we were lucky in Belfast that like, we lived together for the last load of years. Separate rooms. And like the rent we would have paid was like $250 a month for like a 4-bedroom house. And I think that is a crucial element to a band who's trying to make it, because if you're stuck in London trying to pay $2,000 a month, like you're not going to be able to dedicate your whole time to making music. Thankfully the rent was so cheap and we were able to pay that, and also like spend a lot of time making music or spending time doing social media. And that is the importance of having these spaces that artists can, live without being having the fear of being chucked out of your house for we were able to scrape together, because it was me and him together there for $250 a month, couple of years, $250 each a month, 10-minute walk to the city centre. Like Belfast is cheap. 30-second walk to the pub. But the difference that made, like, I mean, if we were living in London and trying to start as a group with no money, no funding, no label, no nothing, like studio time's very expensive. So like that mixtape we done at the start could have used an extra month, really. Like on some of the tracks you hear them and you wish you had a bit more time on it. But that was the luxury we had because Belfast rent was so cheap at that time. Over the last couple of years it's essentially doubled. Like for a house on that street it'd be near 1,000 now. Times, yeah. So yeah, we had that luxury anyway, but now like obviously we've got backing and stuff, we can really hone in on like, making it sound good quality. Like I feel like Irish language stuff for years was kind of like, everybody was just so into it and so into like our son Nakusha, we said, for the good of the cause. People would do things for free, or people would, we would just release stuff because it was in the Irish language because we felt there was a need for it. But I feel like now, because of the people that came before us who built all these like, cultural arts centres through the language, schools, that we now have, a bit more space now where we can actually strive for good quality stuff, like good quality music, good quality film and stuff, whereas we don't have to do it just because it's like a bit of tokenism, like a bit of Irish language stuff. We can actually strive for like good quality stuff. Like, I mean, you look at Netflix, the best stuff on Netflix is like Danish and Norwegian, Nordic investigations, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So like people, fair enough, people are happy enough to read subtitles now. And I wonder if you're going to, if anybody's watching this in America, you're probably reading subtitles for us as well, like, so enjoy. This isn't we're speaking English. This is the Irish version of English. We in our generation, we're taking it day by day as well. We don't have anything to save up for. We'll never be able to afford a house. But that was a sign of success, I suppose, 20, 30 years ago, was house, family, and security. Mm. Whereas I feel like our generation now, like, sign of success for us is, not having to eat pot noodles every day. Mm. Having a house would be lovely. And then here in the social as well, you could, if you look around at all these plates, these are like workers' parties plates, and it's all about socialism. And like the Tory government's not going to serve anybody these days. No, I mean, they need to be ousted. And if you want, they need to give oysters to the working class. I mean, but it used to be working class food actually. Oysters, yeah. I know, lobsters as well. It's all been gentrified, the same as everywhere else. And gin as well is apparently working class drink. Yeah, everything's being gentrified these days. But if you want to, like, if people want to get social housing, then they need to start building social housing, stop building fucking high-rise fucking apartments for millionaires. Water parks. Water parks in the middle of London. People asking, if you work with someone, asking them how much you earn. I think that's a small but very powerful thing. Yeah, I think it's also understanding the system and what's going on. This whole system is renting and like mortgage. Like I met a friend of mine who's like got a mortgage on their house and they're actually paying less rent basically than me.
They pay half the rent.
Half the rent. So there's this massive conspiracy going on here that these fellas or mates of ours will own their house at the end of the mortgage and they're paying less rent than I am. That doesn't even make sense to me.
If you could afford yourself time to do things, I think that's like the biggest thing with making art. I mean, you tell me, but it seems like if you can afford yourself time, because 10 hours you could be working that shift that day, but if you put 10 hours into thinking about your art.
Yeah, well, time is the most valuable currency we have, and I think that's what labour and all this time. It's the lack of time people have, and lack of free time. And I seen a meme the other day. I'm going to try and explain a meme.
That always works.
It always works really well. But it was like AI is now creating music and poetry and taking over what people do. But it would be better if AI was cleaning the dishes and hoovering up so we could spend more time making art and poetry.
That meme was hilarious.
No, it wasn't a funny one. It wasn't a funny meme, trust me.
Like there's an identity thing there, like from an early age is built into us, like should be doing this, should be doing that. Have you found that okay to kind of go against?
I don't think we feel those pressures. Like I feel like because we got into it for the crack, whereas a lot of bands get into this and they're like, it's that kind of fucking tortured artist where they're like, oh, I'm slugging out for my art and stuff. Like we got in this for the crack and we're still having a ball, enjoying ourselves. We're writing songs for fucking fun. We're not trying to get it in. We're like not trying to be fucking James Joyce. Do you know what I mean? We're trying to be clever with the songs we write, but we're not trying to be fucking poets.
Yeah,
we're in there having a bit of crack. We want fucking people to get boogieing and fucking enjoying themselves, and like that's it. I'm not trying to take this too seriously, you know. And I think that's important. I like people take themselves too seriously is like such a downfall for anything artistic you're trying to create. Once you start believing your own hype or like feeling that you're like more important than you are, you're like on a slippery slope.
I think humour is a great way to get through life. And like some of the shit that life throws at you, humour is kind of...
Fuck, you're telling us we're Irish, Jesus Christ, we had 800 years of colonialism, we got starved by British government for fucking ages, like the only way we made it through, what?
It's very hard to get a serious conversation out of any Irish person, really.
As you can tell. Where we're from, obviously because of the Catholic Church, we're essentially the government for a while. It's such a taboo subject to talk about things like this, and there's actual avoidable deaths of young people because they're not told. Like for example, like I don't think many people, especially the generation before us, understood that like if you're prone to seizures, don't take MDMA. Like people in Europe know that, like that's widespread knowledge, but like at home that's not like very well known because it's such a taboo subject to talk about. And we're not here. Don't drink
too much water either.
Don't drink too much water on it. Like,
I only learned that.
We're not here to advocate anything. At the end of the day, what we do is we're a band, we're satirical, we're like you know, South Park in that way, where we do extreme, like outlandish versions of a topic, which creates a dialogue amongst people. If it creates dialogue amongst people to say like drugs are dangerous, which of course they are, or there's a safe way to do it, which of course there is, and it creates this dialogue between people that would never be talking, you know, and that's all we're doing. We're not here to advocate or promote anything.
They have to be done responsibly.
Yeah, and I think the government has a wee bit of responsibility as well. They not push it into all these dark corners where people have to go down dark alleyways to fucking find bags of heroin that could be laced with anything, and all these deaths that are unavoidable, you know. If like whenever you go to Portugal, whenever it's decriminalised, you can see that fucking there's less people in the jails, there's less people overdosing. You know, so take a leaf out of someone like Portugal's book. How
do you deal with the hangovers?
A big bottle of a drink, or if you can't get a drink, a big bottle of Lucozade. Do you have that in England? Lucozade? Yeah. Is that Irish?
Lucozade.
We're claiming it. Lucozade, pickled onion, Monster Munch, and
look, at the end of the day,
on the spectrum.
There is no
great show.
There's no cure for a hangover.
Except for another drink.
But like, it's just gonna create another hangover. I mean, it's true. Fact. There is no. Doesn't matter how much water you drink.
Drinking less.
You can't cure a hangover. Listen, if you're gonna go and indulge, whatever it is, deal with the consequences. Whether it's too much food, too much drink, deal with the consequences, and you know.
What goes up must come down.
the record, the Ruts, the pub where it's set, where you go in on track one and you enter. It's got me thinking about what makes my favourite pub. And for me, it's somewhere that's a bit hairy, it's a bit scary.
Yes.
You know, it could be on sort of first impression a bit aggy, but quite often those aggy places turn out to be quite friendly if you say hi and shake a couple of hands and smile. And that.
Yeah, you should be a bit scared to go into the pub in your initial entrance to the pub.
What are your kind of favourite part? What are your favourite kind of
indicators of a good pub? Alcoholics.
Alcoholics. That's a good
Alcoholics don't drink in shit pubs.
Yeah.
You know,
if you
drink in pubs that have good pints.
Yeah.
You know, an alcoholic isn't going to waste his fucking money on a shit pint.
I feel like a good snug.
I love a snug. You don't have snugs in England, really?
Is this not a snug?
No, I think
it's just not a snug. For fuck's sake,
it'll have like a wee tiny door, and it's kind of closed.
It's all closed in. It's amazing.
It's an actual closed door. It's not.
Oh no, they get like a wee like saloon kind of closed door, and it's like closed. It'll be cornered here, and it's literally just a wee. So they're not that often. You don't get them that often anymore.
They're not as common,
but they're the job. A wee snug,
good traditional music.
Like, yeah, good paints, good tunes, and like
alcoholics.
Alcoholics is also is the main one.
You get great local gossip off the alcoholics.
I've kind of gone in and out of going to my locals because I find I have the same conversation with the same people.
That's what I love about it.
How'd you get over that?
I love that.
Let him
have his moment. Do you know what I mean? We've all been caught in the fucking loop when we've had a few drinks.
Yeah.
This fella's just been caught in the loop for 40 years. Just let him have it.
Sometimes you just want, it's like reality TV, just want the same thing over and over again.
Have you worked behind the bar?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I worked for years, mate, at a bar, so did he.
Yeah.
How was it? What are the most memorable situations?
Like sitting with like 7 alcoholics, and we were watching, I think it was me and Marley, and I was working from 12 o'clock in the day, and it was just 6 of us, and just me and Marley's at the movie with the dog who dies.
I think it's Marley and me.
Marley and me, sorry.
Me and Marley's the one about the joyride in Belfast.
Oh no, Marley and me about the Labrador fella, and
Owen Wilson.
Wow, that was my favourite watching a movie.
I worked at Madden's Bar. It's like the hub for like Irish traditional music in Belfast, and it's like fucking bizarrely good musicians play there every Friday, Saturday, most days of the week, but Friday and Saturday in particular upstairs. And that was the bar I worked at, so I'd be like serving my mates pints basically and just listening to like fucking quality Irish traditional music.
No free pints from him anyway.
you tight?
Yeah, he's tight. Jeez.
Dead in my bollocks. Them cunts were spoiled rotten. Sorry, Bomber.
I remember working up in RGA club, Dolan's, and we had the keys and we were supposed to lock up, and we used to lift the boxes of WKD.
Legend.
Leave them down behind the fence and collect them later on.
Did you work
Just put myself in the...
Me and Ollie, the filmer, we worked
there
together at the pub.
Nice.
Good one in London Bridge called The Miller. And it was sick because I was in that period of my time in my life where...
down recently?
Nearly. You see it's got a couple of cracks in it. But there's going down there, I sort of didn't have many mates at the time. My friends were moving away. And I went to this pub and met Ollie and a couple of our other friends. And it was just sweet.
Say hello to the folks, Ollie. Come on, don't be shy.
He's the man behind the camera.
And it was just nice. And they all thought I was shit at my job. I'd smash glasses a lot. But what I gave
That
in
is an
service...
that is an indicator.
That's just Greek.
What I gave in service far tops what they were doing. I thought I was doing table service. You're not supposed to. You're not,
Hooters.
Behind the bar's way better.
filling it up.
Tits and teeth, guys. Tits and teeth.
Dirty teeth and tits.
I tried doing sperm bank for some cash, but they
No one wanted your sperm.
Change the currency.
Sperm bank.
I missed the pot.
They were peeled out.
Went over it.
Did they supply you with
You missed the pot?
Yeah.
Did they supply you with
What'd you
material?
come over the
Yeah,
seat?
it's a touch screen. Touch screen
Is it
in-house
porn?
Pornhub.
Well, I know what.
But I thought it was why it's touch screen. That's gross. That's the worst part about it.
That was
Did
the
you-
grossest part.
You
So
did?
you-
Were you paid for it?
I know.
You missed the tube.
I didn't go for it. So they make the process.
Did you just go in?
You missed the tube.
So hold on. You went in the sperm bank, had a wank, and didn't even collect it and left?
Correct.
Nice.
That is fucking...
Self-indulgent.
What did you watch?
But this isn't about me. Work fuck ups. Have you got some memorable mistakes in the
I
workplace?
can-
I've never wanked in the tube.
No. I got half cut one day before work and came in and was changing a keg and forgot to press the wee button and just squirted the keg everywhere. That was rough enough.
Yeah, they're hard to change.
I used to keep bees.
He did. He's
No.
a beekeeper.
I'm a qualified beekeeper.
No.
I swear to fuck.
Yeah.
I can keep bees in any country in the world.
How have we been talking for 45 minutes and you haven't mentioned this?
No,
Work
he's right. He's
fuck-ups.
humble. He's humble.
I got stung.
He's Bumble.
He's Bumble. Yeah, I done a 12-week course and I've got my certificate and everything. I had 2 Beheads for a while. I shared them with people like.
What got you into it?
Honey.
Pollen. No, I fucking I had a job for like I was working somebody else's job while they'd done a PhD and they were just giving me the money because they wanted to do a PhD but keep their job at the same time, and their job was essentially going around planting flowers. So I was going about planting flowers for 6 months.
Whoa.
Anything for a buzz.
Just going into I was just going into roundabouts basically and planting fucking native flowers for about 6 months.
That's not a bad gig.
Not bad. And then obviously it came hand in hand. Then
Came home.
me and Giles came hand in hand.
One last question about the sperm bank.
Yeah.
So if you apply,
Is there a bureau de change?
if you apply for it, do they just? Is there like millions? There's millions of bits of sperm in your spunk, isn't there?
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah. So can they just hand it out to everyone, and then you have
You get one each.
1,000 kids?
Could be.
You get one cell each.
But they're probably more specific than that. They probably like keep it in a. They probably have like one person who's looking to get their egg.
Or they come and they look at a photo
You're
of you.
Walt
Like,
Disney.
do you want your son?
Yeah.
Do you want your son to look like Giles? And then they kind of go,
Oh yes.
yes.
It's like Tinder.
Maybe.
It's not a bad idea, you know.
Whoa, that's fucking bizarre.
If you had to start a business, if you had to start a company,
I would start a car park. Easy money.
You get
car
money
park.
for fuck
Holy
all.
hell! People like the car park down in Belfast, like £6 an hour.
did you read about that guy who was charging people to park there somewhere in the States? And
No.
he's made a living for like 30 years.
Didn't even own it.
Didn't own it. Didn't own the land. Yeah. Just a geezer.
What a legend.
Uh-huh.
There's a guy actually
Amazing.
in Kerry in Ireland that sells Irish air to Americans in a jar. Also,
Yeah,
there's,
that's a good idea.
there's
You
another
lot are missing a trick.
no, there's another fella.
Leprechaun
He
juice.
has like a couple of acres, and what he does is he carves out like a beer mat square
Oh yeah, so that.
and sells that to Americans. Buy your own bit of Ireland.
Irish soil.
And the Yanks love it.
Genius.
They're all buying squares that says so that they own land in Ireland. It's genius.
What was it like going on tour in the States? I bet you had loads of people coming up to you being like, I'm 4th generation Irish.
Yeah. See what you guys are doing for my culture. Yeah, I mean there was plenty of good stuff as well, but the shame is that Irish Americans, like there's a lot of like conservatism with Irish Americans nowadays. You know, like we are a nation of immigrants. Like we have immigrated probably more than any other country in the world. We go everywhere. We always have. And then you get a lot, not all Irish Americans, Jesus, a lot of them understand their history, but you get plenty of Irish Americans who are like anti-immigration, and which is fucking bizarre sentence in itself. But like, you know, the difference between the Irish Americans and the black community in America was, you know, the Irish were white. The Irish were able to join the police and the military and rise through the ranks that way and politically get a foothold in politics in America that the black community wasn't really granted at that time. So now, like, when you go to any state in the fucking country, it's like Murphy is the chief, you know, shit like that. And it became then, you know, once the oppressed became the oppressor in certain places, unfortunately, when, you know, they forget their history, is that, you know, we were second-class citizens in our own country for a long time.
And I think, especially in America, there's a big misconception of what Ireland is like, because we have these like recycled movies, like recycled Irish culture that comes from America. So you have, I don't know if you see the movie Irish Wish recently, or like The Wild Mountain Thyme. It's these like movies about Ireland. We're all living in thatched cottages and we're all like dancing around in a bowl of stew.
I wish.
And
That's what I love about KNEECAP. That's what I love about you. It's what I love about hearing these kinds of stories, is that there's an equal part like serious and somber and you know, needs to pay attention to, and there's also party, there's also laughter and humour. That's what's such special about KNEECAP.
Yeah, I think what's important to us as well is that now we're doing these tunes and we're like calling ourselves Fenians and we're like making tunes about our history. You know, we're not trying to be the fucking victims our whole lives. You know, we were victimized for a long fucking time, and now we're reclaiming our culture back. Cheers, man. Ooh. And you know, fucking reclaiming that power again. That nobody wants to be a victim forever. So we make light of it. We talk about serious subjects, but in a manner that's, you know, bit of crack.
Cheers for watching. This is 101 Part-Time Jobs. You can find us on Apple, Spotify and all podcast apps. We've done interviews with Aurora, KNEECAP, Idols, Laura Mabry of churches, and loads more. So tap into 101 part-time jobs on Spotify, Apple, and all podcast apps.